Elon Musk slams Lucasfilm boss for killing Star Wars with woke propaganda, more deadly than the Death Star. Elon Musk blasted Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy for putting Star Wars franchise in jeopardy by pushing woke propaganda in the latest spin-off, The Acolyte. It's no shock to anybody here that Disney has had an agenda and has put it to the forefront of a lot of their properties. And when it comes to the people they hire, they aren't hiring good talent, they are just hiring activists. And if we really want to get into this woke propaganda, well, that's where it comes from. When you don't hire people who know what they are writing, who know Star Wars, and you just hire activists who want to push their own agenda. I find this next part here pretty funny. Kennedy said she hired Hedlund because she had struggled as a showrunner due to a male-dominated fan base. And going into this further, this male-dominated fan base, you know who got the most shit? J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, two guys who created the sequel trilogy. The movies that divided the fan base the most were those three films that were poorly written, poorly directed. They come out years later afterwards saying, yeah, maybe if we had an actual plan for the sequel trilogy, it would have went well. You don't say. And it's not just Star Wars. We've seen it with Indiana Jones as well. It's Lucasfilm as a whole has fallen so much as a company. Willow, Season 1, has been nuked off of every streaming platform known to the internet. They constantly bring up how Star Wars is super misogynist and super sexist, but there was an article released saying that Disney forced to reveal unequal pay on Star Wars show The Acolyte, which is, I think, at least 90% women at this point. So there you go. It's kind of the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it? She is more deadly than the Death Star franchise killer. Star Wars itself is a multi-billion-dollar disaster. It still hasn't turned a profit. All they have done here is constantly divide the fan base further and pushing out this garbage. I mean, we've seen it in the sequel trilogy. We've seen it time and time again. Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, that scene where the young Leia is running away from two bounty hunters. It is almost comical how bad and how much of a joke. Honestly, Star Wars is a parody of its former self, constantly making references to previous movies and films where characters have never been or seen. But this is what happens when you have these people leading this company who don't actually care. Showrunners, actresses, coming out behind the scenes, saying that Star Wars is very patriarchal and there's not a lot of women in Star Wars. Well, they clearly haven't watched Star Wars. They clearly don't know that there are many powerful women in very powerful positions in this galaxy far, far away. And when you have actors coming out and saying, Anakin blew up the Death Star, they just keep burying themselves further and further with their lack of knowledge and their stupidity. The Sith Lord who is revealed, he reveals himself as a Sith, is wearing armor that when you strike him with a lightsaber, it shuts off the lightsaber briefly. I couldn't help but think, why didn't the Separatists make their droids out of this material? Why aren't more armors made out of this? Why isn't this material used at all? There's so much wrong with the show, and they keep outdoing themselves in the worst ways possible. Whether it's breaking lore, bringing in characters that aren't supposed to be there. Fucking Kiadi Mundi. That is so funny, man. You have Leslie Headland claiming she loves Star Wars, but she's writing this absolute disaster of a show, which is destroying so much lore. 13% audience score, rightfully deserved.